And it's even a prehistory to what's being called the Arab Spring, right? What's now labeled the Arab Spring. It was a prehistory to this current moment, a time when black artists and activists imagined themselves to kind of anti-colonial struggles taking place in the Muslim Third World. Many of them what we would call the quote-unquote Arab world, right? So all these things are kind of coming together as I'm kind of, as I'm finishing up writing the book. And, particularly then, of course, then Obama's presidency becomes kind of like almost, serendipitous. Like I couldn't have kind of like asked for a better godsend, I guess, if you will. It's a way of like kind of framing the book. And I opened the book talking about, his inauguration in 2009, after his election in 08, right? The day of his inauguration in 09, which is on the King holiday, and the way in which he's introduced by Dianne Feinstein. And Feinstein invokes kind of, the peaceful, non-violent means that made us get here, and that the ballad of the bullet, right? She invokes the ballad of the bullet phrase in her speech. I can read a section of it, like out of the book, as a way of kind of invoking both Martin and Malcolm, but as a way of essentially dissing Malcolm, for lack of a better way of framing it, right? And kind of centering a particular era of King, not later King, not 67 King beyond Vietnam speech King, right? The I Have a Dream King that kind of got centered as part of this narrative in America about kind of civil rights. So Obama kind of came at this kind of really fortuitous moment for me in terms of like thinking about some of the ideas that were going through the book. And because I think that it was really interesting to think about how in a more obvious way, and I think there's other ways that this has happened, but in a more obvious way, that a kind of black internationalist or Pan-African impulse has attempted to be erased within the United States, right? So that now with Barack Hussein Obama as the president, whose father is a Kenyan Mau Mau, right? Who comes from this anti-colonial past, and of course Newt Gingrich calls him a Kenyan anti-colonial, right? As a way of kind of dismissing him. But who has this kind of anti-colonial past tied to him, that now Obama, as a black president, kind of, contains black internationalism within kind of the idea of America. That you can be American and an internationalist, as contradictory as that seems, right? But Obama seemed to kind of like, in many ways, kind of house the ideas and contain the ideas of black internationalism within a broader idea of American universalism. And I'll maybe break some of those terms down throughout the talk, but Obama came to be this figure that I felt, tried to harness all this stuff, almost to suggest that a black internationalist impulse was no longer necessary, It wasn't necessary anymore, right? That it had been achieved in many ways through the election of Obama, and it's something that I point out in the introduction to the book, right? So we have that happening on the one hand, right? But on the other hand, as I talk about also, in a 2010 Pew poll, right? Pew poll, they do all these polls left and right. And in 2010, the Pew organization, they do a poll where they find out that 61% of Americans, right, believe that Obama is a Muslim or might be a Muslim, right? Now, not 61% of the Tea Party, not 61% of the Republican Party, right? 61% of Americans believe that Obama was a Muslim or that he might be a Muslim, right? And to me, this kind of fear, this kind of specter that haunted Obama, so to speak, about is he a Muslim or not, right? Something that, to a certain extent, is worn off, to a certain extent. Obviously, he picked up a lot of steam in 08, 09, came back a little bit around 10 and 11, around the midterm elections, right? But it's kind of like lost a little bit of steam. This fear of Obama being a Muslim, to me, was really indicative of this fear of blackness, Islam, and the Muslim Third World. America post 9/11, at war with Iraq, Afghanistan, droning Pakistan, in covert wars everywhere else, right? That this fear of Obama being Muslim was really a deeper-seated anxiety over the legacy of Malcolm X, right? And the legacy and ideas that black Islam and the influence that it had on black radical, the black radical imagination, that was really what the fear was about, right? that it was a way of kind of black Islam historically, as I talk in the book, and its influence on the black radical imagination post-World War II, was a way of kind of forging a kind of identity that Amiri Baraka called post-American.